Once in Yongnya village, there was a young man by the name of Apeishangba. One day in the village he saw a beautiful woman and wanted her to be his wife. Her name was Dangyu, and she was the daughter of the richest man in the village. Apeishangba, in all youthful confidence, came to Dangyu's house and asked her father for his daughter's hand in marriage. But though the young man was handsome and able-bodied, Dangyu's father did not want to give his only daughter in marriage to someone from a poor family. In those days, it was not unusual to set tests and trials for suitors to prove themselves. And so the father decided to set a task for this young man that would be so impossible to complete that the matter would end there. "Bring me a kahang opong tied to a branch of the shock's horns," he told the young man. "And if I should bring you that, what will be my reward?" asked Apeishangba boldly. "My daughter as your wife," the father assured him. "The task is mine to fulfill," Apeishangba said, smiling. Now the kahang opong is the small, lively, black-throated sunbird that feeds on nectar among flowering bushes and flies in quick bursts, moving swiftly. And the shock is a large animal with big, sharp antlers, too wary and wild to be easily caught and controlled. Apeishangba knew that the challenge he had taken up was a daunting one, but he was determined to win a fair Dangyu's hand, and so with no hesitation he entered the jungle, keeping his eyes and ears and all his senses open. Apeishangba soon discovered a tree that oozes a sticky resin from a break in its bark. He cut a neat gash on the tree bark and collected some of the black gum in a bamboo mug. Earlier back in the village, when he inquired how one could catch a black-throated sunbird, a man had told him he would surely find one on a pear tree. Now Apeishangba was unaware that the man had misinformed him, for a black-throated sunbird does not frequent pear trees. And so he went ahead and smeared some of the black glue on a stick, and tied the stick with a twine to a branch on the pear tree, with a prayer in his heart for the bird to land on it. He then saw the mula tree, which he knew for its strong bark. He got an idea and began stripping a length of bark from its trunk. He sat by the stream chewing ken, betel nut, and leaf, patiently softening the bark in his hands after damping it with some water. When it was soft enough, he shredded it down to its many thin fibers. Holding several long ones together, he made a fine string of it by rubbing and rolling the fibers expertly on his thigh. He made a few strong strings like that out of the strip of bark. He then made some loops and added some thin bamboo sticks to it and made a snare, strong enough to bind the legs of the strong shock. He then dug a hole on the ground where he knew stags roamed, and camouflaged the hole with thin sticks and dry leaves, and carefully laid the snares on the top, around the middle of the hole, with a silent wish to win Dangyu's hand. He then sat by the stream and rested, smoking tobacco harvested from his garden in a bamboo pipe. He said a heartfelt prayer, and most unexpectedly, a black-throated sunbird flew up to a pear tree in blossom and landed on the stick, smeared with the black resin. And a stag, walking with his head held back due to its heavy antlers, stepped into the hole and got its legs trapped. Apeishangba caught the black-throated sunbird and tied its legs to a branch on the horns of the helpless animal. He then sat beside the trapped animal and bird, stroking them gently, told them softly of his love for Dangyu, till they had calmed down and trusted him. The next day he walked to Dangyu's house, leading by a bark leash the large shock with a black-throated sunbird. perched quietly on one horn. Angyadangnyu's father was astounded beyond belief. He had never ever expected to see Apeishangba in his house again, let alone have him bring a live black-throated sunbird sitting on the horns of a live shock. But instead of admiration for the young man, who had fulfilled his task, he could not bear the thought of giving his daughter in marriage to the son of a poor widow. "Bring me 60 unblemished pak pu leaves and a basket full of bird liver tomorrow morning, and then you may have my daughter," he hurriedly told Apeishangba. Now everyone knows that it is rare to find an unblemished leaf of the pak pu tree, as a certain tiny bug favors it, nibbling tiny holes in its leaves. Apeishangba roamed the jungle, whistling a melody he had composed for Angyadangyu, till he could find 60 fresh leaves that bore not a single hole in them. He also smeared the sticky resin he collected earlier on the leaves of bushes. By nightfall, he was soon filling up a basket with the livers of the birds. Carrying the basket, he walked to Angyadangnyu's house the next morning and presented them to her father. Angyadangnyu's father was stunned. How could this young man manage to bring 60 unblemished pakpu leaves and fill up a basket with the livers of small birds in such short a time? But the father did not want this poor man as his son-in-law, so he set him on another task. "Bring me a big fish from the river first," he told Apeishangba. "And what you bring must still be alive," he continued. "And also, what you bring must not be in any water," he added tersely. It appeared impossible that Apeishangba would be able to complete this task. But the young man was determined to win Angyadangnyu's hand, and set his mind on how he could best catch the fishes without killing them. Soon he set about stripping lengths of bark from a wimong tree, and thrashed the bark on a hard rock in the river to soften them. He then wove it together to make a big net, which he then used to catch the fish alive. He secured the net in the river. In the morning, he saw that the net has caught a sizable amount of fish. So he kept the basket held between rocks inside the water to keep the fish alive. Now it just so happened that the previous evening, he had plucked some leaves from some bushes nearby and bundled them up to make a tight stopper for the bamboo mouth, to steam some small fish in a bamboo hollow to have for dinner. When it was blackened nicely all around, he took it out to eat its contents. Imagine his surprise when he found the small fish still alive, jumping about among the cooked rice and cooked shreds of bamboo shoots and chilies. People say this is how Apeishangba discovered the magical life-giving leaves. So in the morning, he gathered as many of these leaves as he could find, and stuffing them inside the basket with not just the biggest fish, but with all that he had caught to Angyadangnyu's house. Her father was shocked when Apeishangba presented him with the fish, all clearly alive, wiggling and jumping about among green leaves. But the father's heart only hardened, and with a grim face, he set another task for the poor young man to do. This time, Apeishangba was handed a small piece of metal. "Take this," he was instructed. "Cut down a vup with it, and then you may have my daughter as your wife." Now this piece of metal, the pecha which Apeishangba received, is that part of a dao which is inserted into the slit of the wooden dao handle. It is useless as a cutting implement. But the young man smiled confidently, and he spent some time sharpening one end of the pecha, and then made an incision around the base of the tree trunk. Then he wedged the pecha into the incision, and using a large wooden block began hammering it, driving it into the tree trunk. And so on and on in this way he swung the wooden block up and down, again and again, and he worked his muscles without stopping. Soon the tree began to sway and creak. After a few more times, down came the tree to the forest floor with a loud resounding sound. Angyadangnyu's father was stunned that Apeishangba could bring down a strong tree, using the peka to cut, but he just could not come around to acknowledging the strength and perseverance of the young man. Instead, the father thought up another task for the poor man to do, so impossible that he felt sure this one would bring the matter to an end. "Bring me a whole hive of the hornet's nest," he told Apeishangba. "There must not be even a tiny piece of it broken off." Apeishangba knew that trying to get hold of an unbroken hive of the hornets meant certain death, for the sting of the small bee is lethal, and even a single bite can prove fatal. A swarm of hornets will also chase down anybody who disturbs their hive, even up to the distance of 1 kilometer or 2. Once a man had jumped into the river to escape the bees, but the swarm had hovered over the water, and when at last the man could not hold his breath any longer and had come up for air, they had then attacked him. But Apeishangba only smiled. After giving it some thought, he first made many long spikes out of the hard bamboo and smoked these over the fire to strengthen them. He then hammered the spikes into the tree where the hive was, through a bamboo pole, and in this way could make a strong ladder and climb the tree. He carefully surveyed the hive and the branches around it, and satisfied, climbed down. He had by now collected quite a bit of sticky resin in several bamboo cups. He took all this gum and smeared it liberally on the outside of a large grain basket that was tightly woven. He then climbed the tall tree again, carefully carrying the basket, attached to a strong bamboo twine. When he reached the beehive, using a stick, he gently poked the hive. The bees buzzed out angrily, but he quickly crouched under the basket, making himself invisible to the swarm. The bees flew at the basket and got stuck, becoming harmless. Once he was sure no bees were left, Apeishangba emerged and saw that all the bees were stuck in the basket smeared with the sticky resin. Carefully, he removed the hive from the tree and placed it in another basket and brought the hive to Angyadangnyu's house. Now, her father was dumbfounded when presented with a whole hornet's nest, with not a bit of it broken off and not a spot of bee sting on Apeishangba's body. But the old man pitilessly declared the last task for Apeishangba to accomplish. "Bring me the chick of the hornbill," he said. Now anyone attempting this would be taking a deadly risk, because the hornbill had built its nest in a hole in the middle of the vertical cliff at the edge of the village. Apeishangba thought hard about this task. He first roamed the jungle and collected long lengths of the shakak vu, the jungle vine. Next, he made a basket out of strong cane. Then he decided to ask the help of his good friends, who came to help him. They securely tied the vine to a tree and threw its vine over the cliff. They then tied to the tree another length of vine, to which they secured the cane basket tightly. Apeishangba sat in the basket, and his friends lowered him down the cliff face. When he was finally in front of the hole, he took out the buffalo horn and blew on it strongly. His friends secured the vine to a strong wooden peg on the ground, but still continued to hold on to it. After a long wait, the hornbill chick appeared at the mouth of the hole. Apeishangba caught it quickly and placed it in the basket. His friends pulled Apeishangba safely toward them and cheered with glee and relief. When he showed up at Anyadangnyu's house and handed over the small hornbill to her, her father furiously told him that he could still not have her daughter, for there was one more, the very last task to perform. Apeishangba's smile froze, and his heart turned cold. Before the father could even begin to tell him, he turned his back on him and went home furious. After some time had passed, Apeishangba one day secretly sent word for Anyadangyu to meet him in the forest, that there was something beautiful he wanted to show her. She had been longing to see him, so she sneaked away to leave her father's house. Apeishangba was smiling and held her hand gently as he led her deep into the forest. They arrived at the foot of a tall tree, and he pointed out some bright blossoms on the top branches. "I will climb up to the very top and pluck those beautiful flowers. Will you come with me?" he asked her. "Oh yes, I will come with you," she said. The two climbed the tree with already placed bamboo ladder. Upon reaching the top, they settled down on a branch. He plucked a red blossom and inserted it in the side of her ear. "Let us first sit and choose some ken before we gather the flowers, shall we?" Apeishangba asked. "Yes," agreed the girl, smiling. "I'll go get it, wait here," and he quickly started to descend. As he went down 2 lengths of the ladder, he took out his dao and began cutting off the ladder above him. "Why are you doing that?" Anyadangyu asked. Apeishangba looked up and said coolly, "I am leaving you there. After everything I did to win your hand, your father still does not think I am worthy enough for you. Now let's see if he can find you in this high place." "No, please don't leave me here, Apeishangba." "I'll marry you. I'm sorry about my father," cried Anyadangyu. But Apeishangba's heart was as cold as ice, and he was deaf to all her pleas and cries. He cut off the last remaining length of the ladder and went home. Anyadangnyu's parents nearly went insane when she was found missing. Her mother suspected that Apeishangba might have had something to do with her disappearance, but she had no proof. Every day her father sat crying. Her mother sent out search party after search party to look for her, but their daughter just could not be found. Then one day, her mother was drawn to wander deeper into the forest, foraging for food. She came across a tall tree and she looked up. It is indeed a very tall tree, she thought. She walked around and nearby on the ground, found a luxuriant growth of mushroom on a moss-covered mound. As she began gathering them in the small basket, she found a red carnelian bead in the moss mound. It was a strand of beaded necklace her daughter used to wear among many others. Not bothering to search for more evidence, she grimly set about gathering all the mushrooms and went home. The next day, Apeishangba received a request from Anyadangnyu's mother for a meal in their house. With much hesitation, he went. Much to his surprise, Anyadangnyu's mother welcomed him nicely. She spoke softly of how the time had now come for all of them to make peace and forgive and forget. She served out a generous helping of the special meat and mushroom curry, and Apeishangba heartily ate it all up. When he was about to put his plate down, the mother served him more and more food, and out of respect he ate it up. Finally, they said their goodbyes amicably, and Apeishangba walked home feeling very uncomfortable with a bloated stomach. But his heart started to melt, thinking of Anyadangyu, and he shed tears, remembering everything that had happened. As soon as he stepped into his kitchen, An intense pain racked through his body, and his stomach began to bloat up even more. He fell to the ground, and as he writhed about on the kitchen floor, some ash flew up his nostrils and he sneezed, and something vital ruptured inside Apeishangba, and he died. Even though this story is about cruelty and revenge, it is said that Apeishangba discovered and invented many things. Till today, people make the same kind of snare to trap birds and animals. People now know which tree bark to extract strong fibers from, to make a shang or a net to catch fish. They also know from which tree to collect the sticky black resin or ni from, and how to make the han or the bamboo ladder to climb tall trees. They now employ the use of a wedge to efficiently cut hardwood trees, and still use jungle vine in many different ways. It is said that people had also once known the magical life-giving leaves, but unfortunately, they cannot recognize the plant now.